Welcome to the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast, where high-achieving, goal-oriented rebel women come to learn how to live a vibrant and fulfilling life without requiring alcohol to get through it. No labels, no judgments, no saying you'll never drink again. Just real proven methods to help you stop rebelling against yourself with alcohol so you can drink less and do more. I'm your host, Angela Mascenik. Let's dig in. Welcome to episode 359, When to Be Positive and When Not to Be. Well, hello. Welcome back to the podcast. I just am in awe that this is episode 359. 359. I was looking at Facebook and I had a memory pop up from 5 years ago that I was celebrating my 100th episode. It's wild. So I'm at 359 and 5 years ago I was at 100. 359 of doing something is a lot. And I'm super proud of this podcast. And I actually have a favor to ask. If you haven't left me an iTunes review, I certainly would appreciate that, especially if you are listening to the podcast on a regular basis and using what I have taught you and it has helped you in your life in some capacity. I would love for you to give back a little bit and leave me an iTunes review. It's super easy. All you have to do is open your iTunes app, your podcast app. You find the Stop Over Drinking and Start Living podcast. You scroll to the bottom and you leave a review. Click on the 5 stars and write me a little blurb about how this podcast has helped you in your life. Thank you so much. Okay, so today I want to talk about being positive and when not to be. And this is a very common theme that I find in coaching my clients and talking to my friends and family and children and husband and all the people. We are typically programmed to think positively. Like this is what our society tells us to do. We don't want to hear people's stuff, right? I think that's why is like we're very uncomfortable in listening to people and their negativity and sharing difficult things, right? Because we don't know what to do with that. And that makes us uncomfortable. So I do feel like our society as a whole are conditioned to believe that we should be positive and keep your chin up and, don't wallow and blah, blah, blah. And there's a time and a place for positivity around your given situation. And there's a time and a place for you to allow how you actually feel to be present. And we're going to dig into some of the nuances here in this podcast. So maybe you've caught yourself saying something like, it could be worse, or I should just be grateful that blah, 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 even when you are feeling some pain on the inside, right? So maybe somebody in your family is sick, right? But they don't have like a terminal illness, right? And so you have told yourself, I should be happy that they don't have, a terminal cancer or something like that. Or I should be grateful that my family isn't experiencing what that other family is, right? We've all done that, right? We have this pain and we don't want to sit with it. And then we tell ourselves some story that it could be worse, right? We've all done this before. So I want to talk about that because I actually don't think that that is very helpful at all. Because especially if you are still drinking in response to some of these underlying themes in your life, right? So if there's something difficult that's happening in your life right now, or there has been something difficult that happened in the past, and you tell yourself, oh, I should be over that by now. Or you know what, that it's not really that big of a deal. Like you're bypassing yourself and your own experience of this situation. And so we're going to dig into what genuine positivity might look like and when we might be emotionally bypassing, which is sort of what I'm talking about here. It could be worse, or I should be grateful, or blah, 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 right? That's emotionally bypassing yourself. And that happens when we are actually uncomfortable with those feelings. And this happens very fast, right? So like something might have happened and you're thinking to yourself, you're reflecting on that thing or you're experiencing that thing, and then you quickly jump to wanting to solve it or fix it or make yourself feel better, right? Instead of just pausing and acknowledging how you actually feel. Okay, so we don't want to get caught in that, what I kind of like think about this, the Pollyanna-ing, or that positivity trap. And when you skip over how you actually feel, that's when you're disconnecting from yourself. And that's when numbing behaviors tend to kick in at the end of the day, right? So it's still there. Like the way you actually feel is still there. You've just put like this cheap band-aid on top of it with thinking about it differently. But your emotions around it, what you feel on the inside, is still there. And this is sort of a disconnect. It's like your mind is thinking one thing, but you actually feel something different. And then your behavior that comes from that shows you that this thinking positive thing isn't actually working because you don't believe it, because you still feel the way that you feel, right? So thinking differently can be very powerful, and managing your mind and choosing your thoughts and directing yourself in a way to think a certain way is a good tool. And it only works after you've felt and processed those underlying feelings. So you can't change a thought until you've actually felt that initial feeling all the way through. It just doesn't work. As you know, especially if you've tried to bypass and like think about it in a different way that's a little bit more positive and you're still drinking, right? So that's when you feel that tension, right? It's just kind of like this underlying, you might have a ball of anxiety or something feels off and you're just not quite sure what it is. You need to go explore that a little bit. Maybe you're repeating, you might be doing this, and like some signs that you might be doing this if you keep telling yourself these positive affirmations, but you're not getting any relief. And you find yourself numbing or escaping with alcohol or with food or with keeping yourself busy. And maybe you're saying, I'm fine, but you know that you're actually not. Okay. So, really, the difference here, it's like, it's okay. You're not being negative. It's just that you're not being real. You're not being honest with yourself to what you're actually experiencing. Okay. So there's also like this nuanced difference around feeling what you're feeling and acknowledging and validating how you feel, more of like this internal process versus like indulging in the story, right? That's kind of like the difference. It's like we don't want to indulge in the story around this thing and constantly keep re-triggering ourselves to feel these negative feelings. So feeling your emotions doesn't mean wallowing in it, right? It just means I am feeling this way. And can I just let myself be here for a second and connect with my feelings and connect with my body and connect with my breath, instead of trying to change anything, or instead of trying to push them down, or instead of trying to numb or avoid them or keep myself so busy I don't have to look at it, right? That's not wallowing in it. Wallowing in it is like talking to other people about it constantly over and over and over again and blaming other people and not taking any responsibility for how you feel and, blaming the other circumstances in your life for how you're feeling. And yes, our feelings are our own, and it is the story that you are telling yourself, and that is okay. That is an internal process. And like being able to dissect this stuff slowly. And this is sometimes why you need professional support to do this. If you can't dissect this on your own and you've tried journaling and thinking about it and looking at it at different angles, it's just like sometimes you need professional support to help you see things differently. So get coaching on this if you're in a live AF or one of my private clients. And if you're not, and you feel like this is you and you're getting stuck and you don't know how to nuance this, join a live AF at the next opening. Consider private coaching, something that's going to get you the support that you need. Okay. So feeling your emotions again doesn't mean wallowing. It just means connecting with yourself and being honest and being real with yourself versus trying to bypass and think your way out of it. Okay, so remember the steps to that. So you want to stop, notice, and process. You want to name your feeling. Stop. I am feeling this right now. Take a deep breath. Notice where you feel that in your body. Do you feel it in your chest? Do you feel it in your heart area? Do you feel it in your stomach? Do you feel it in your jaw? Do you feel it in your throat? Observe this feeling in your body and remind yourself that it's absolutely normal for you to have feelings, no matter what they are. It is a normal human experience and it's also temporary. I promise if you can learn how to connect with that in that moment, it will actually move through you so much faster than you trying to think your way out of it in a positive way or ignoring it, because it's bubbling up, and we know that it is because you're probably drinking more than you want to. So I'm loving this whole gym analogy that I've been using a lot. It's just like lifting weights, right? The more you practice sitting with your discomfort, the stronger your emotional muscle comes, right? You get resiliency around this. And resiliency is like the ability to be with, right? Without needing to do anything, without it driving your behavior. Okay, so once you've processed your feeling and you're honest with yourself and being real, it's like I just want everybody to be real with themselves first. Once you've processed that, you've acknowledged how you feel, you've validated that, you've breathed through that, and you've connected with it. Now it's time, if you want, to change the thought. You don't even have to go through it though. I oftentimes, when you just let yourself be real with how you are feeling about any given situation, you don't need to change your thinking. Like naturally, you might come to a new conclusion in what you're thinking about, right? But if you're feeling stuck and you keep repeating the same kind of story over and over again and it's producing the same feelings, then it might be time to look at what is the thinking here that's causing me to feel this way. This is where professional coaching or therapy could really be helpful. So the question you could ask yourself is what am I believing that's making me feel this way? Is this thought helping or hurting me? You might have some thoughts like I'm failing or this shouldn't be happening, right? That is not, those probably aren't really helpful thoughts, right? So those might be examples of shifting to, instead of I'm failing, it could be like I'm learning something hard, or this shouldn't be happening, to this is part of my growth. And obviously I have something to learn here. That is not it's not like, oh, I'm going to think positive about it, but it's almost like workshopping your thoughts. You have to try them on to see if this feels true for you in this moment. That's why evaluating your own thinking and coming up with your own thoughts instead of borrowing like positive affirmations and things is way more powerful. And to like, instead of just skipping over the work, it's like, instead of like, oh, I should just think about this positively, or oh, it's not that bad, it could be worse. Those are like kind of like canned affirmations that we've been really programmed to believe and think, right? And they don't work. We know that they don't work because we're still doing things and feeling this way that isn't being helpful for us, right? So if you want to change your thoughts, put pen to paper and start practicing. Uncover the thought that is repetitive and then try on new thoughts that you could think that come from you that might feel more real for where you are right now. Okay? This is not pretending. This is learning to think differently that can be helpful for you. And that's actually more healing. That's not just thinking positively. It may not feel super positive, right? If you think about the example, I'm failing, and then you're trying to reframe that to I'm learning something hard. That doesn't necessarily feel super positive. It's just more grounding. It's just more real with actually what's actually happening. You're not failing. You're learning something, and learning something new comes with stumbling, right? So that's how we want to think about shifting our thoughts. And the last thing I want to talk about is when and whether or not to share how you're feeling with other people. And we don't want to lie to ourselves. And I don't like generally lying to other people about what's going on with me. And I also don't want to get into the details with people that it doesn't really matter, right? So maybe it's grocery store people or, you know, like sort of people on that very outer circle of acquaintances, or, people you see at school or at work or in the pickup line or wherever. You might see them regularly. Maybe they're at the gym or something. But do you want to share how you're actually feeling? Or is there a way that you can be more real and true to yourself, right? And share what's going on with you. It doesn't feeling something for yourself and having that internal feeling that you're having doesn't mean you have to tell everybody about it. So be discerning here. Okay? Share when you're seeking connection, not validation, right? It's like, I am going through something right now and this feels really hard and I want to talk about it, right? Also consider keeping private about it and using, getting support professionally if you're still processing or the other person isn't the right person to hold it. Okay? So, like, we don't need other people to validate our own feelings, right? That's our own work, and maybe with a professional. So maybe it's like, it's been a tough week and I'm still here. That can be enough. And tie it back to yourself and trusting yourself. When you can be with your own feelings yourself and you don't need to overshare or hide, you're steady either way. Like, that is sort of like what the major goal is. And so again, you can just be like, I'm practicing being more real right now. It's been a hard week, but I'm still showing up. That could be something that you could share with some of those superficial people. You don't want to assign people, like, it's not time to share your feelings if you feel like the other person is responsible for making you feel that way. This is when we still need some dissecting to do. And yes, other people trigger us for sure. I'm not saying they don't, but our feelings are our own. And we have a whole story and thoughts based on what other people do or don't do that we have to look at first. And until we get kind of clear on that and work through that ourselves, telling other people how you feel and it's their fault isn't going to help. I promise you. Do the work yourself, dissect that yourself, work on processing that yourself. And, obviously, professional help here is super important. If you don't have that, you should look into it, especially if it's complicated or there could be some traumas involved, right? And your feelings are for you, right? Your feelings, and basically the big overarching message here is that no matter what you're feeling, it's valid and it's for you, and our feelings aren't problems. And it's so important just to be honest and real with yourself. So it's almost like, let's get real, right? We don't need to broadcast that out to the world, but the first step, and always the first step, is being honest with how you're feeling with yourself. And when you can start doing that on a regular basis, it will naturally probably evolve in how you show up and communicate with other people in your life. And you will understand who you can trust with, more in-depth information and more raw information about you, and when to not. So if it feels hard to even think about sharing what is actually going on with you emotionally right now, don't worry about it. Do what you normally do, right? Maybe practicing, it's been a tough day, but I'm moving forward. Something like that, right? So you're not totally bypassing yourself, and you can let the other person in a little bit. But the real heavy lifting is acknowledging yourself and start practicing doing that, right? There's so many, like, especially right now during the holidays, it's a loaded time for most people. Okay. We want to think the holidays is like this picturesque scene where everybody comes together and it's joyful and there's holiday cheer and all this beautiful abundance of things, right? And for most people it's not, especially for women who are mostly carrying the load of all of the planning and orchestration of it all. Okay? There's family complications and estranged family members and all sorts of things that are going on behind the scenes that people are not sharing on Instagram and Facebook. Okay? They're sharing their family photos. And what's behind those family photos is a big bag of shit sometimes. And so It's normal to feel loaded around the holidays. And if you have a perfect, awesome, Hallmark movie type situation during the holidays, that's also okay. But most people, it's not like that. It's just that we're not sharing what is going on behind the scenes, but you can share what's going on underneath with yourself first by telling yourself the truth and how you actually feel and connecting with that in the moment that you're trying to, or in the moment that it's actually presenting. So give yourself some spaciousness this holiday season. Let yourself walk away from situations, or go take a break in the bathroom, or go put your feet up the wall. If you're feeling extra, it's okay. Connect with yourself is the most important thing I can tell you. And tell yourself the truth. And if you're in my coaching programs, or you are privately coaching with me, that is always a good place to share how you're actually feeling. Always. You don't have to pretend in our spaces. Okay, it's a safe place to share exactly how you're feeling, what's going on, so we can help you navigate that and give you tools of, okay, this is when you should process these feelings. This is when, okay, it's time to look at changing your mindset. Okay, it's time to look at changing your circumstances, and help you look at that, right? But other people outside of those types of spaces, you get to be discerning about what you share and what you don't, whatever feels best for you. All right, my friends, I love you. I hope you have a beautiful Thanksgiving week. I will be practicing gratitude even while I'm having difficult feelings. That's also possible. You can do both, right? You can acknowledge how you feel about something, even if it feels hard and painful. And at the same time, you can appreciate all the amazing things that you do have. You can do both. All right. I hope you have a beautiful week. And I'm including the link in the show notes for the Magic House Retreat Center. We are very close to being sold out. There's one retreat in November where we'll only have one spot left. So go check that out. If you've been on the fence about joining one of the retreats, now is your time. Okay? I don't want you to miss out on that. I'll talk to you all next week. Bye for now.